The Spurs spent all week preparing for Jalen Brunson, preparing for Karl Anthony Towns, and Mikal Bridges, but I think they made one massive mistake because the player they were willing to live with ended up deciding the game. And the craziest part is that he only scored 3 points, yet somehow Josh Hart may have been one of the biggest reasons the Knicks stole Game 1. If somebody didn't watch Game 1 and I told them Josh Hart scored 3 points, they probably assume he had a quiet night, nothing special, maybe even a bad game, but Knicks fans know that's not what happened. Josh Hart finished with 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, and a block. And a game best plus minus despite playing only 27 minutes. Think about that. A 6'5" guard led everybody on the floor in rebounds. Not Karl Anthony Towns, not Mitchell Robinson, not Victor Wembanyama, but Josh Hart. The smallest guy among those players by far, and that's where I think the Spurs have a serious problem. Because if you watched carefully, San Antonio basically made a choice before the game. Their priority was Brunson, Towns, and protecting the rim. They were willing to help off Hart, they were willing to sag, and they were willing to let him be the guy who had to beat them. And on paper, that sounds smart. Most teams would still make that decision, but here's what makes Josh Hart so unique. He doesn't need points to hurt you. That's the trap. A lot of people are focusing on Wemby's offensive numbers: 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks. Looks dominant, but here's what the box score does not tell you. The Knicks constantly forced him into uncomfortable situations. Karl Anthony Towns pulled him away from the basket, the Knicks spread the floor, the paint opened up, and every time Wembanyama got dragged outside, guess who showed up? Josh Hart. If it's a loose ball, Josh Hart. Long rebound, Josh Hart. 50-50 ball, Josh Hart. A second chance opportunity, Josh Hart. And this is exactly why so many national analysts are suddenly talking about him heading into Game 2. And here's the craziest part. Josh Hart did not commit a single turnover, not one. Think about how insane that is. 6 assists, constant ball movement, constant activity, constant pressure, and 0 turnovers along the process. Meanwhile, Wemby had 6 turnovers by himself. Those little possessions matter, especially in the finals, because championships are not always won by huge plays. Sometimes they're won by 20 tiny plays. A rebound, a deflection, a steal, a hustle play, a loose ball recovery. And nobody in the NBA is better at stacking those plays than Josh Hart. That was not just a good Josh Hart game, it was historically good. He became the first player in NBA Finals history to outright lead both teams in rebounds, assists, and steals in the same game. Listen to that again. NBA Finals history, not just Knicks history, and somehow almost nobody is talking about it because he scored 3 points, and that's what jumps out on the stat line right away. That's how weird Josh Hart is as a player. His best games sometimes do not even look like great games on the stat sheet until you really study them. Now here's the scary part. Josh Hart did not even play his perfect game, not even near it. He was in foul trouble, his shot was not falling, he missed all 3 of his 3-pointers, and he still completely impacted the game. Think about that. What happens if Hart actually has one of these random games where he starts hitting shots? Knicks fans know exactly what I'm talking about. Every few weeks he turns into Steph Curry for a night. If that happens during the finals, good luck to the Spurs, because then the Spurs cannot ignore him anymore, and if they can't ignore him, everything gets easier for Brunson, everything gets easier for Towns, and for Bridges. Honestly, I think Josh Hart represents something bigger. Everybody talks about stars: Brunson, Wembanyama, Fox, and Towns, but championship teams are usually built around players like Hart. Those are players that are willing to do anything nobody else wants to do. Dive on the floor, fight for rebounds, take charges, guard bigger players, and sacrifice numbers. Hart himself basically admitted that his job is not to chase points or recognition, it's to do whatever the team needs to win, and that's exactly what we are seeing. So now the question becomes, what does San Antonio do? Because they absolutely cannot allow Hart to dominate the possession battle again. You cannot let a 6'5" guard grab 15 rebounds. You cannot keep giving away extra possessions. You cannot lose all the hustle categories and expect to beat this Knicks team. The Spurs know that, Mike Brown knows that, Josh Hart knows that. And that's why I think Game 2 will be fascinating. Because yes, San Antonio is going to adjust. The question is, can they adjust without opening something else up? Because assuming they start paying more attention to Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson gets more space, Karl Anthony Towns gets more space, Mikal Bridges gets more space, and suddenly the problem becomes even bigger. Everybody is talking about Brunson, everybody's talking about Wembanyama, but heading into game 2, I think the player San Antonio should be most worried about is the guy who scored 3 points. Because Josh Hart just reminded everybody that basketball is not only about scoring, and if he keeps controlling games like this, the Knicks might be a lot closer to a championship than people realize. So let me know in the comments, would you rather have Josh Hart's game 1 stat line of 3 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals, or a random 25-point game from a role player? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and sub to the channel for more Knicks news and updates you'll not want to miss. It's been KNYT here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.